AskReddit buys elephant books too. What celebrity death seems a bit too suspicious? Shelly Miscavige, wife of Scientology leader David Miscavige, disappeared 2013 after vocally coming out against the practices of Scientology. Lawyers for the cult, religion, still maintain she is alive and living a private life devoted to Scientology. Right. Also, Shelly's mother, Flo Barnett, https://reddit.com/r/unresolved mysteries/s/lraftf2bdo close bracket comma who died by suicide after she shot herself 3 times in the chest and once in the head with a long rifle. Hey no. Oscar and Golden Globe winner for The Killing Fields. Cambodian and former prisoner of the Khmer Rouge. Tortured and imprisoned in Cambodia. Murdered outside his home in Los Angeles. His family thinks it was revenge from Cambodia for his outspoken support for human rights and bringing people to justice in Cambodia. Survived genocide, murdered anyway. JFC. Sridevi. She's a Bollywood actress who died in Dubai from accidental drowning in a bathtub the day after a wedding where she was in perfect health and she had a huge life insurance which would pay only if she dies in Dubai. Devir Bharti, another Bollywood actress, who accidentally fell to her death from their 5th floor apartment. She was only 19, was one of the top actresses and was married less than a year at the time. Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones died under suspicious circumstances while swimming. The person he was swimming with, a contractor working on his house who Jones had accused of stealing from him, supposedly confessed on his deathbed to killing Jones. I read an article about the incident and how there was a wild party that night at Jones' home. A neighbor down the road claimed in the early morning hours, she heard a bunch of screams coming from the direction of Jones' house, then a minute or two later saw or heard a couple of cars with tires squealing zooming away from Jones' house. I think the coroner ruled the cause as death by misadventure, but something has never sat right with me on that one. Jill Dando. She was a British TV presenter, newsreader and journalist. She was shot on her front doorstep and it's never been solved. Also Dr. David Kelly, not exactly a celebrity, but he was a known public figure. He was a weapons expert that supposedly killed himself shortly after saying that the report on Iraq's nuclear weapons had been fudged. Yes, David Kelly, who managed to take 29 pills and slit his wrist with a pruning shear while somehow not leaving a single fingerprint of his own on either the blister pack or the knife. Right after making public a report that was very damning to the UK government at the time. That very plausible suicide. Nicole Brown Simpson. From what I hear, her ex is still trying to find the real killer. He even wrote a fanfic about how he would do it. Dorothy Kilgallen, reporter and TV personality, died under mysterious circumstances while investigating Kennedy's assassination. It is a fascinating case. I've become a huge fan of hers. Remarkable woman. There are a number of YouTube videos regarding her suspicious death. I particularly like Mark Shaw's lectures on this. https://www.youtube.com/watch?vffmcmkeiwere 8 right square bracket open bracket https://www.youtube.com watch v equals ffmcmkeiwere 8. Deleted. Man is living on an island having the time of his life. George Reeves, the guy who played Superman in the 50s. There were a bunch of people in his house the night he died, and a lot of conflicting stories. Also he was having an affair with a studio execs who was in attendance with his husband that night. Also forensics disagree with the testimony of the witnesses. It's all a clusterfuck. I've always wondered about this one. Like, he had valid reasons to be very depressed. But everyone's differing stories and his involvement with Tony Maddox was suspicious. I thought Ben Affleck did a great job of playing him in Hollywoodland. Don't know if he qualifies as a celebrity, but Yuri Gagarin, Russian cosmonaut and the first man in space. After the Kremlin sent one of his friends to certain death on an extremely unprepared rocket ship, in a desperate attempt to catch up with USA's progress, Yuri, a Russian hero and one of the most popular figures at the time, criticized the Kremlin and blamed them for the death of his friend. Not too long after, he died when he allegedly lost control of his MiG-15. The official explanation given by the Kremlin is full of holes, and to this day no one really knows what happened, but it seems obvious to some that whatever caused his crash, the Kremlin was responsible for it. Is because he threw drink into face of comrade leader Brezhnev during toast to brave cosmonauts. Dorothy Kilgallen. She was an investigative journalist and game show panelist on What's My Line. She was digging into JFK when she died of an overdose. Her manuscript on JFK was taken by the Gov and will never see the light of day. Elliot Smith. Arguing with his girlfriend, and then when she goes to take a shower in the middle of their argument, he suddenly decides to stab himself twice in the chest with no hesitation wounds. And of course she pulled the knife out before calling 911. And I think I've read she has exhibited so weird behavior before and since. The live version of King's Crossing from The Echo, where his sister yells "because we love you" after he sings "give me one good reason not to do it," always makes me tear up. They added it to the studio version on From a Basement on the Hill. It's suspicious that Gary Busey isn't dead. This made me chuckle. I just saw a video the other day that he got into an accident and took off on the woman he hit. Deleted. I truly believe in that conspiracy theory. It just makes sense if you think about it. The way things happened, how it was covered up, nothing makes sense, but at the same time, it does. I hate that kind of statements, where people say a lot, but don't say shit at the same time. Ivana Trump. Not accusing Donald of having anything to do with it, it could have simply been his enemies showing him he wasn't invincible. I have no idea which could be true, but something is fishy. Why do I think it's suspicious? The reason is cause of death, which was ruled accidental. It was blunt force trauma to the torso from a fall down the stairs. Now, explain to me how a person could suffer such trauma to their torso while falling downstairs without also causing other major injuries? If she had a head injury, that would be included as part of cause of death. It's possible it was an accident, but I feel like there's something fishy about this. Again, I am not accusing a particular person or group of doing this, just that I think her cause of death wasn't accurate. Stuart Lubbock. Not a celebrity, but a celebrity was involved. He was found dead in the pool at Michael Barrymore's house, with horrific anal injuries which have been reported were that bad that they could not have been caused by having consensual sex. Evidence disappeared. People scarpered before the police turned up. The whole story is heartbreaking to read. His poor dad fought for the truth for years and has sadly died without ever finding out what really happened or anyone being brought to justice. Nobody has been held accountable for his death. Absolutely awful. Didn't John McAfee get whack tatted on himself or some shit just before he died? I may be wrong. I feel like McAfee would intentionally go out like that to fuck with people. I think he tweeted, "If I die I didn't kill myself," right before it happened. He's always been a bit on the crazy side. Like having hookers poop through hammocks onto him. Marilyn Monroe's death. I just read 30 minutes ago that the current owners of her last house are trying to tear it down, but there is a temporary hold stopping it for now. Betty White. The death of an immortal is always grounds for suspicion. She was about to release information related to McKinley's assassination. Epstein. A bit? How about a lot? Yevgeny Prigozhin's flight crash. It was basically a public execution. Andy Warhol's death was an incredible case of medical malpractice, And there's some evidence that the nurses who overloaded him with IV fluids did it on purpose. I've never heard this before. I know a lot of people attribute his death to waiting so long to get surgery. This is interesting. This is the most interesting AskReddit I've read in a long time. Brittany Murphy for sure. Didn't her husband die in almost the same way soon after? Gary Webb, author of Dark Alliance, the explosive series of articles in the San Jose Mercury News in 1993 that exposed the SIRE operation to finance the war in Nicaragua with cocaine money. Cheap cocaine flooded the streets of America and started the crack epidemic. His article was attacked by the mainstream press. He lost his career and reputation. He committed suicide in the early 2000s and was found to have 2 self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Dorothy Kilgallen's death has got to be one of the most suspicious. There are many who feel she was about to break the real story behind JFK's death, but then suddenly she was dead. Not a celebrity but a notable person, Lee Harvey Oswald. Jack Ruby being able to just walk up to Oswald and shoot him with a heavy police presence and a lot of TV cameras broadcasting all of this is very fishy to me. Natalie Wood. She had a horrible fear of water and yet they want you to believe that she got into a dinghy by herself in the middle of the night when it was pitch black and she was wearing her nightgown. Yeah, this happens all the time. Whitney Houston and her daughter. Whitney's autopsy shows that she had defensive wounds. Maybe it wouldn't be as suspicious if her daughter wasn't also found unresponsive in a bathtub. I was more shocked by her daughter's death than Whitney's, which was also shocking. Very suspicious that the daughter died the same way her mother did, but much younger, 3 years later. I firmly believe Martin Luther King was not killed by James Earl Ray. The FBI had something to do with that. Even MLK's family didn't believe that James Earl Ray killed him.